In a world of challenges and uncertainties, hope shines as a beacon, guiding us through the dark times and showing us the way to brighter days ahead. But what exactly is hope? Where does it come from? And how does it shape our lives? I'm Annie Bennett, and I'd love you to join me on this journey as I explore the meaning of hope. I'll delve into philosophical perspectives, personal stories, and scientific insights to understand the power of this elusive emotion. So whether you're seeking inspiration, comfort, or simply a deeper understanding of the human spirit, let's embark on this exploration together and discover the extraordinary power of hope. Hello and welcome to the Chronicles of Hope podcast with me, Annie Bennett. Now, I have an amazing guest with me today. We've just had the most amazing chat and laugh and discussed our cats and everything. But I'm here to ask her, obviously, about who she is and what she does. Now, she describes herself as a spiritual engineer. Now, that is really, really intriguing. So I'm going to definitely find out more about that. So I'm delighted today to introduce and welcome the lovely Sarah Malone. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Annie. It's lovely to be here.
Lovely. Thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be just an amazing chat. From the 5 minutes we've had already, I think we're going to go places. Oh, and the cat's arrived as well. Hooray.
Yeah.
Yes, so would you please just introduce yourselves to my listeners? Tell me who you are and what you do, please.
So, as you said, I am a spiritual engineer, and I know that that probably sounds absolutely phenomenal, but it's not as phenomenal as you may think. Let me kind of break it down. I trained as a mechanical engineer. My whole life was brought up on a premise that I had to be seen by a masculine energy. And in order to do that, my thing was to lean into what my father did because I wanted him to see me. I wanted him to be proud of me. I wanted him to tell me that he loved me consistently. And when it didn't happen, when I was doing things that I liked, my body, my brain, because our brain likes to do weird and wonderful things, says, do the same as him. He'll acknowledge you. You'll have something in common. So I became a mechanical engineer. I was in the corporate world for 15 plus years as a mechanical engineer and quickly discovered that I was being raped and pillaged for my outside of the box thinking on things that realistically shouldn't make sense, but did make sense because I could logically outthink the circumstances, the problems, or the struggles. And I wasn't really being remunerated for what it was that I was bringing to the table. And what I recognized was that it wasn't my mechanical engineering, although the understanding of engineering is obviously a skill that I have, it's a problem solving ability, but it was more my intuition. There was things that I could see that people couldn't, frequencies. This is the thing that I work with, energy. We all have this now beautiful understanding that everything is energy and energy is everything. And I was able to see everything rather than it being in physical form, like what we see, what I look like or what I sound like. I could see it almost in frequencies, lines up and down. And I was able to kind of fragment that, break it down and put things in different places and then put it back together, but narrate it in a way that was understood. This is where I tapped into the spiritual side and was like, you know what? I'm going to step out the corporate world and just see what happens. So I did that on a whim. Total didn't even think about it. It was just like, I'm done working here. Like, I'm out. Thanks very much, but good night. And that was about 5 years ago. And here I am today doing exactly the same thing as I've always done, but with people to help them see the beauty inside of them, who they are truly meant to be, and support them on the path that they are supposed to go on rather than the path that our brain subtly tries to take us on, which is a bit like side quests, afternoon teas when our journey is away the other way. But yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. I love that. So you were in a corporate job, sort of engineering, doing that sort of the male engineering kind of. I suppose you were surrounded by sort of masculine, energy for a lot of that, were you?
Absolutely. When I went to education, I was the only girl in there. I originally wanted to be a mechanic because I love cars. I'm a petrol head. Like I still love tinkering. It's the reason why we have a second business at the garage because it means I get to go and pretend like
Excellent.
I get to go be a boy. But when I was in education, I was the only girl there. But when I went to try and get an apprenticeship as a girl back in the day, there was still this real big stigma that, girls are supposed to do air hostessing and
Yeah, yeah,
hairdressing and all these pretty things. So the mechanic that I was at, the apprenticeship that I went to for a trial, and I'll never forget these words. It was like, love, you're all right at mechanicking, but when you're bent over a bonnet, nobody else is. So I'm sorry. So I was like, okay, what do I do with that? And then there was an opportunity for me to transfer once I'd completed my first year mechanics at college to go into mechanical engineering.
mm,
And I went through a stringent interview with two or three of the lecturers to really prove that I wasn't just in it for some whimsical, I don't know, I don't even know why, but like they literally went to town on me and was like, why do you want to be and why do you want to be doing this course? Why do you want to go and learn how to be a mechanical engineer? Like this isn't typical of a
mm,
standard in brackets woman. So I really had to prove myself, and throughout my education, I really had to prove above and beyond that I was actually worthy to be this mechanical engineer. And it goes back to that story that my brain told me as a child, a story that run with my whole life for such a long period of time and caused absolute chaos until I went, whoa, 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 what's going on?
mm.
So when I work with clients, I always relate things back to my journey because I've been there, I've done it, I understand it probably better than most people, and that's the thing. It's not like I'm just coming out of this, terminology of textbooks and criteria. I've lived this experiences, so I have this deeper compassion and empathy to I understand why this is happening to you. But if we can change it, could you imagine what would happen? You
Oh,
know,
it's amazing, isn't it, how there are so many women in traditionally male roles who have to work 10 times harder to, as you kept saying, to prove it, to prove myself, to be able to do what I really wanted to do. Although ironically, it wasn't really what you wanted to do. You were doing it for a different reason, weren't you? But even
absolutely.
the fact that they were sort of questioning you more than they would have done a male, it's quite a thing, isn't it? When you think about it and look at it, world view of it, it's quite a thing.
Absolutely. But I think this is the bigger picture, isn't it? I mean, we're now in a space where in this day and age, things are now finally starting to shift, and the cogs are now starting, and the anomalies of how vast they were are starting to shrink more and more. But when I was a kid, it was the age old typical: be a nurse, be a midwife, be an
Mm,
air hostess. I used to love flying.
mm,
um, or be a hairdresser, or do something that's soft and and
yeah,
and support, not something that is standing loud and proud and being a breadwinner. It was very different. Um, and even doing the things, you had to go above and beyond to prove the same level. I'll never forget when I was doing thermodynamics, which is a part of mechanical engineering. It's like an equation that's like an A4 page long that has not a single number in it, but somehow, some way, you've to understand the why of this is the reasoning and how to break it down to get a number, right? It's like sin signs and divided by the power of X plus. Anyway, I had written it all down. I had done my equation, but because I had missed one point of a number, they failed me. Now, the person that I was sat next to was a guy, and he got about 3 or 4 points of the number incorrect, but he passed. And I said, why is he passed and I haven't? And they went, because you haven't done the full equation properly. And I went, I have. I just didn't write out the extra numbers because when I transferred into the end result, it was irrelevant. And they went, no, you've failed. You're going to now have to pay to resit that exam. And I was just like, yeah, there we are then. My famous
yeah,
saying, you're a twat. There
yeah.
we are then.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Oh, just I mean, it is, isn't it? It's a real cultural thing, although it is changing. I mean, you look at, I was a primary teacher for 30 years, and you look at, books in a classroom, 20, 30 years ago, if it had been a doctor, it would have been a man, and anything, fire person, man, but now it's changing. People don't necessarily automatically think man when they hear the word doctor or when they hear the word firefighter, because there's so much. It's the representation, isn't it? It's building up now. It's really good, really, really good.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued as to how how perhaps hope, because we talk about hope on this podcast. So how did hope sort of, what role did it play on your journey? You said that you sort of went into it sort of for the wrong reasons, really, to please someone and not yourself. So what role did hope play at that point?
So this is an interesting thing because hope didn't come into my space or my jurisdiction in the way that was straightforward.
Mm,
So obviously, if we take back the briefing of it, I was very masculine. It's what I class as we become human doers, which is what we're programmed to do. We're programmed to show up, shut up, do the job, and just be given whatever is given, and then move on to the next thing. We're human doers. I had to understand that I had to come back to being a human being, which is more feminine and gentle and soft. And geez Louise, learning patience, that is not a virtue I ever want to go back through. Can I tell you? I have 3 kids. Patience is still not my forte, but I turn around and say, I do not have the patience today nor the consumption to even give you any drips out of my cup. So please remove yourself from my vicinity. Um, but anyway, so going back to it, the feminine side was something that I wasn't really au fait with. I didn't understand it, from being in, my early to mid-teens. I had problems with my menstruation and periods, and I didn't understand why. I was passing out and I was really unwell. And the doctors, there is a side note, people, medical things is always a good thing to go through. However, for me, the doctors automatically just treated the symptoms rather than trying to understand what it was. So
mm,
they gave me the Depo injection, which stopped my periods, which in theory in their head would reduce the anemia levels, would stop the chaos that was going through and all the rest of it. Yes, it did, which allowed me to lean more into the masculine because in theory I had just completely shut down my feminine
mm,
side. I just went, no, it's not happening. And when I got into my early 20s and I'd met my then partner at the time, it became this, what's the next step? You
mm,
have to follow the protocol. You
mm,
meet somebody and then, you consider childs or animals, and then there's marriage and the standard stereotype of what you do in a relationship with a man and a woman. So I came off the injection and I was told that because I'd been on it for so long, which I shouldn't have been, but whatever, the doctor is clearly just, you're not causing a problem, you're not causing a scene. So no
mm,
news is good news, vice versa. So because I'd been on it for a considerable length of time, we're talking roughly 7, 8 years.
mm,
You should only be on it 2 to 3 years at one time and then come off for a break, just so you guys are aware. They
mm,
were like, it might take a considerable length of time, anything up to 18 months before you can even start seeing signs of periods or menstruation in any way, shape, or form coming back. Luckily for me, I fell pregnant within 6 months, didn't even realize because I hadn't had a period,
mm.
and I had the worst pregnancy ever. Like
Oh,
I was sick beyond measure. I had SPD. I was just miserable. Like you could time the length of time that I took to take something and how quickly it would come up. It was like literally like, give me a countdown. I'll maybe have got like semi mouthful of whatever it is I've eaten for nutrition. Um, Needless to say, my child was born kind of about just short of 7 weeks early. My body, it might be a temple, but it does not like to share. No way, no how. It's just like, no,
mm,
no, no, thank you. But what happened after that was this massive chaotic journey of chaos. It wasn't like postnatal depression, although the doctors had said that that was what it might have been. Then they said that it was depression, and then they said that it was chronic depression. Then they said that it was PTSD. Then they said it was CPTSD because my birth was so traumatic. Then they turned around and said that I was bipolar. Now, this took short of 7, 8 years of them doing this, constantly going back and me saying it doesn't feel like this is what it is. You're telling me all these things, and it didn't complement what was going on for me. It just didn't sit. Now, I went back time and time again. I'm a fighter. I went back to that masculine energy. No, like this is not right. But
mm,
somewhere inside of me, there was this softer side starting to kind of creep up. And I started kind of really leaning into myself, started my journey of really connecting back to who I was and my intuition and my gut feelings rather than blocking them out because you don't do that when you're masculine. You just do the things that you're told. You're programmed. You become like this robot. And I started tracking everything and all the rest of it. And eventually I started noticing this patterns and I went on the internet because I was constantly trying to find something or someone that could even be even a slight bit relatable to what it was that I was going through. And
mm,
then this word came up one night, PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric dysfunction. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Now, bear in mind, I've spent almost 12 years showing up with labels. You're a mechanical engineer, you're this tomboy, you're this amazing friend, you're this bipolar, you're this depressed, you're this, whatever the label was. I was carrying all this stuff with me, and there was just this other label. So I'd found this, I'd started researching it and found that it really started resonating with everything that I tracked and all the details and everything that I'd been through. And I went back to the doctor and I was like, look, this is what I actually think I've got. Years and years short of being sectioned because they just thought I was Delulu. And they turned around and eventually they were like, yep, we actually think that this is potentially what you have. However, we can't really give you anything because everything that we would give you to ease the symptoms, we've already tried and it doesn't work. Yeah. And I'm like, so what do I do now? And they're like, well, because you're not cause for concern, there's not a lot else we can do. And I'm like, okay, so I've seen people, they've talked about having hysterectomies and things like that. They're like, oh, well, the wait list on the NHS is quite long, and because you're considered healthy and you're not causing a risk or a potential suicidal ideation at the time, there's not a lot that we can do. Yes, we can put you on a wait list, but you're not classed as an emergency. So you could be on it for as long as you are until perimenopause, menopause, and it kind of subsides. So I went away, my hope. And I came to the point where I left my partner with that I had my first child with. I just decided it was done. Like I can't be this version, and I can't be this version with you still here. This part of my journey is done. I literally left with the clothes in my wardrobe and some pans. Pans of all things to be taken, I've no idea. But my kid, my clothes, and my pans, I was good to go. And I started afresh. And this time it was going to be on my terms. It was going to be with my jurisdiction, my governing boundaries, laws, integrity, and value based on me. And I started really diving in deep. Now, there's lots of other little bits that kind of happened that really brought me up to this point. But I was like, if I'm like this, there must be millions of other people that are like this, that are going through very similar things, going through these challenges and not really being heard or seen or understood, and taking what the professionals, because they have a title attached to their name, are saying as gospel. And they're taking it because they don't know what else there is to do or how else to do things, action things, present things for themselves. And I went on this other massive journey, and through it met my other partner, who just thinks I'm an absolute psycho best of the times, but puts up with it because he understands it, and came out the other side while I went through this sort of spiritual journey, this connecting back to my feminine energy. And what I realized was the reason that I have and I live alongside PMDD is because I have womb wounds, because I hadn't leaned into what it was I was supposed to do. Now, this goes way deep, and this is perhaps a whole other conversation for a whole other podcast, but it wasn't my womb wound. It was my ancestral womb wound. There was something within my family, generational DNA, that was structured. We take DNA from our families, our forefathers, our foremothers, and we create sometimes from that without even knowing. So we start showing up, and where people might turn and say, God, you're just like your mother, or you're just like your father, or you've got the same sense of humor, because it's written in your DNA. So you will automatically show up as versions of them, because it means that you have the bond when you're a child. It means that you then create that bond growing older and become still connected and part of that community. So I had this chaos in my womb and I had no idea. Fast forward, I then started trusting myself. I then started listening even more to myself, and then started showing up as who I authentically, unapologetically show up as, and started trusting the process of, if this is what my body is telling me I'll need, this is what I'm going to do. No matter what people think, no matter what people say, I have to take care of me, because at the end of the day, if my cup's not full for me first, I can't do anything else for anyone else. So my hope didn't necessarily come from the transition of where I was. It came from me starting to come back to me, come back to who I was truly supposed to be, and start unraveling all the stories, all the limiting beliefs, all the chaos, all the being the robot, conforming and being conditioned, to unraveling it all and going, I don't have to be that version. And that's okay. That was, it was more than just a weight lifted off my shoulders. It was like I was able to fly, and I was able to not care. And don't get me wrong, there are still days I still manage PMDD, but I manage it holistically. And there's still times that it causes chaos because I've got perimenopause. So I'm not in a space to be able to track the chaos that happens now, whereas I normally was. So I could forewarn everyone, by the way, volcano, keep the hell away from me. But it gave me something different. It gave me a space to really lean into what it was that my body perhaps needed at any one given time. Whether that was I needed to stop, whether that was I needed to go outside, whether that meant I had to roll in the mud and look like a lunatic, or just not speak to anyone for 3 days, you know. So I then started to create my business that supported not only myself, but would support other people going through the exact same, even though they didn't know that that's what it was at the time, because we've got these stories, it's limiting beliefs, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, my hope was in here, which it's always been.
Yeah. Oh, that's fabulous. I mean, I'm always talking about self-care. You know, I talk to my bakers that I teach all the time about you've got to look after yourself. And I'm always talking about the airplane announcement analogy where they say when the oxygen mask comes down, you put yours on first and then you put your children's on. Because, unless you're okay, unless you're sorted out, you're not in a position to help anyone else, are you? It's like it's real common sense, but it's a cultural thing, isn't it? Oh, we must help others. We must put ourselves up for everybody else. Yeah, knowing that we are actually important and we must look after ourselves is really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the biggest thing that I learned was very much the westernized way. I could go into conspiracy theorists and all the rest of it, but I think the general consensus is we were created originally when the real crux of all the gunk that we kind of carry now, it came back from when we went through the industrialization. We were preset to shut up, show up, and output for others. You know, straight from school you're told don't listen to yourself, don't do the things that you want to do. You have to sit down, you have to stay still, you have to do the work, you have to be assessed. You have to be assessed on not knowing what you know, but knowing what other people are teaching you. You have to then go out to a job and prove to them that you are worthy to be in their company, not because you don't know the job, but because they need to know that you're not going to potentially cause a threat for them, because then that would mean that they wouldn't want to hire you, because then you could climb the career ladder, and that means that where are they going to be in? But this goes back to, and I talk about this all the time with my clients and the classes that I offer. We come from a space of four consciousnesses. I always say this, I try and break it down really simply. And even the way that consciousnesses are spoken about now is, for me, it's a little bit kind of muddled. It's a little bit been diluted.
Hmm.
And the consciousnesses that I speak about is unconscious, self-conscious, superconscious, and subconscious. So our unconscious is what we're programmed with. You know, it's the stories that we don't even realize are happening. You know, we might fall over and hurt our knees as a little boy or girl, and we look up to the parents or the people that are taking care of us, and they're busy having a conversation. It's not that they haven't dismissed us, it's just they've not heard us cry. But rather than us registering that there as adults, they maybe didn't hear us because they were deep in conversation, we tell ourselves a story. They don't love us. We're
Hmm.
not allowed to be upset, and we have to take care of ourselves. How dare we think that somebody else could be there for us? And we then look for validation in that. Our brain automatically goes, this is a key memory. So we now need to validate this. But we unconsciously then show up all the time with this, I'm not worthy enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not, I'm not, I'm not. And we just create these stories. The self-conscious is, for example, you decided to wear blue and white stripes today, and you decided to do your hair that way because that is what you chose, because you are self-consciously going, this makes me feel and think and do in a certain way. Yeah, it's just what we choose. It's why some people like to lean into different kind of clothing ideas to try something new, or people take away from the things because they're like, oh my God, that just doesn't suit my shape anymore. Self-conscious, we're aware because we're being fed from external and going, I want to be very similar to someone else because if they feel good, then surely I'll feel the same, right? Then we have the superconscious, and I will come back to that one. But we have the subconscious. Now, the unconscious, the self-conscious, and the superconscious, if you think of it as an hourglass, it's constantly drip feeding into this little tiny bit where grain by grain it drips through. Now, your unconscious and self-conscious quite often kind of tie together. They gang up on you. You know, they kind of tell a story and they go, right, let's do that. you're going to feel rubbish today. Why? Because you ate bread last night, and bread makes us feel really bloated. So anything you look and wear, you're going to feel like your tummy's just really distended, and you're going to feel really sluggish and really just fed up and miserable. And then because you feel that, and you're going to be fed up and miserable, and then because you feel and you're showing up fed up and miserable, we're going to start throwing things at you that's going to just reinforce the fed up and miserable, right? So you have maybe a shit day, and you're like, God, what a horrible day I had today. The unconscious and the self-conscious ganged up and went, ha ha, because it got drip fed through this tiny little gap, which is our subconscious. Subconscious is non-biased. It looks for where the power is. It just goes, where is the biggest amount of energy coming from, right? And it goes, right, okay, we'll create it. So if you're constantly coming from the unconscious and the self-conscious, you're constantly creating from something that isn't actually a reality, but your brain has told you it. Whereas on the other side, we have a superconscious, coincidences. Oh God, deja vu. Oh my God, I can't believe I was so lucky. How has that even happened to me? This isn't coincidence. This is the universe going, you tapped into something without conditions, without terms, without a contract, and there was no if, buts, or maybes. It was just a pure, unintentional space of love and connection to yourself. And it dripped through that little hourglass, that little subconscious gap there, and went, oh, well, that's where the power is today. Let's give it. So you might find that you're driving along and you're stressed because you've been late, and you're like, God, I really hope I just get a space next to that door because I don't have time to walk up there. But there's no intentionals like, I want a space, but I don't deserve a space. It's just, I hope there's a space. And then you pull in and there's a space because there's somebody pulling right out, and you're like, oh my God, how lucky was I? No, it came from an unintentional, unconditional thought process. And this is what it is. If we can learn to lean more into the superconscious, who we are truly designed to be, could you imagine how amazing we would be as humans? Because that's what we're supposed to be here for. We're supposed to be here for this super conscious experience as a human, to create anything from nothing, but instead we flip back to staying small, staying safe, and staying in survival mode. That unconscious and that self-conscious overload of that brain goes, yeah, but that's not what always happens. Yeah, we'll let that one slide, but then we're going to make you have a really shit day the next day because you had something good happen to you. Because you tell yourself that that's what it is, because it's a coincidence, right?
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? I read a lot on growth mindset and fixed mindset, how the brain works. And I'm always saying to people, just because your brain says that, you don't have to believe it. It's really true, isn't it? You sort of grown up almost sort of trusting your brain that all the messages it's giving you, they're there to, keep you safe, which is, the caveman, the reptilian brain, isn't it? But as we grow and as we get more experience and in life, other things come into play then, don't they? The ambushes and all that kind of stuff. So our brain becomes really confused as to, oh yeah, I think it's that, but so I'm giving you this message, but you can go, no, that's wrong. Bugger off. I'm not believing that today. Those little doubts that come in. Oh, I'm not sure that my hair looks really good like this, or whatever it is. But it's so true, isn't it? It's so true. Wow, this has been such a fabulous conversation, and I can't believe that the time has gone as it has. But before we finish, I would love you to give me, for my listeners, a message of hope. What might your message of hope be for my listeners, Sarah?
Don't always trust the first thing that comes to you. Sit with it, feel it. And if it comes from the gut, trust it. If it comes from the head, question it every single time.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm definitely on that wavelength. Absolutely. Fabulous. Thank you so much, Erin. Now, if people are interested in what you do, how can they get hold of you? Where can they find you?
They can find me on most social channels under K3 UK Coaching, or on the website k3ukcoaching.com. We do offer a few freebies and things like that on our website. So go on and just have a nosy. And if there's anything that you're not sure of, get in touch, because realistically, and we always say this, there is no silly question if there's a question that's required. So
fabulous. Well, we'll put all your details in the show notes and all the links, so they'll all be there for everyone to access. But thank you so much, Sarah. It's been a fascinating conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you for having me, and my chaos and my cats.
Your cats. Absolute pleasure. Thank you, lovely.
Thank you for listening to the Chronicles of Hope podcast with me, Annie Bennett. I hope you found inspiration, comfort, or perhaps even a newfound perspective around the meaning of hope. To find out more about the aims of the Chronicles of Hope organisation, please visit thechroniclesofhope.org, where you will find links to our social media accounts and where you will be able to make a much needed and appreciated donation. Thank you.